Hello, welcome to the final episode of reading the Goodreads Choice Awards nominees in the fantasy category for 2022. I'm very excited. I just put my Christmas tree up yesterday. Today is Monday. The top 10 are being announced tomorrow, and I've already read, I think, 10 of the nominees. So if you haven't seen episodes 1 and 2, I will link them up there and in the description. I read Cozy Fantasy in the first episode, and then I read all of the retellings in the second episode. So this episode is really just gonna be me reading whatever is left once those top 10 get nominated. I have predictions. I went over them in the second episode, but I will re-go over them tomorrow when we find out everything. I have been reading the Stephen King fairy tale because I'm fairly certain this is going to make it into the top 10. There are also many dogs in my house, so apologies for this situation. Hopefully their cuteness makes up for their disruption of your nice video time. I'm reading this, and right now it's pretty much about a boy and a dog, which I'm having a great time. Obviously, I love dogs. You've seen them in the videos. Also, the sty is really holding on for dear life, so hopefully she goes away soon. It wasn't nice having her, and I hope she moves on soon. So the setup to this story is there's this older gentleman who has had a fall, and our main character, Charlie, is helping him out. He basically saved this man's life because he heard this German Shepherd like howling because her owner had fallen and she was being a very good girl and trying to save him. So he heard the dog doing that and went and called 911. Save this guy. He's had to have all of this surgery, so he's in rough shape, and Charlie is basically, helping to watch over him. He doesn't really have anyone else. Charlie's got his own reasons for helping this guy out, and he's basically just hanging out with his dog and watching over this guy. The dog is really old. The guy is really old. It's just a really sweet, wholesome time right now. The guy's really grumpy, and it's a funny situation. I am over 100 pages into this book, and absolutely zero fantasy things have happened so far. Apparently, this boy is going to find a portal to another world in a shed that he inherits. So far, we've not even gone into the shed yet. I'm assuming that this poor old man is going to pass away, and then he's going to inherit the shed and go exploring and figure out what's going on. Something that I'm really loving about this is that every single chapter has an illustration. So that's the dog Radar. I'm really enjoying that illustration aspect of this. That's what I'm reading now. I just wanted to pop in, give you this update intro before tomorrow when we find out who all the top 10 are. I'm really hoping my predictions are correct and I don't have 10 books to read in this video because that would be a lot. I will see you tomorrow. We will find out together. It's Tuesday morning. I have to go to work in just a moment, but I really want to look at the nominees because I know they're up. So let's do that right now. I really hope my predictions are right. Fantasy. Okay, let's see what's on here. Fairy Tale by Stephen King. Great. I'm halfway through it. I'm happy about that. The War of Two Queens. It's the 4th book in a series. I'm not reading it. I'm sorry. Legends and Lattes is on there. Fantastic. I'm really happy to see that. Atlas 6 is on there, which I expected. The House of Sky and Breath, I also expected. The Very Secret Society of Regular Witches is on there. Oh my gosh. The only thing so far that I wasn't expecting was The War of Two Queens. I knew Fairy Tale was going to be in there. I had hoped Legends and Lattes was going to be in there. I knew the Atlas 6. I knew the Sarah J. Maas is going to be in there. I'm really happy about The Very Secret Society of Regular Witches. I'm so happy that made it into the top 10. Daughter of the Moon Goddess is also there, which I did also expect, so I'm glad that I read that. The Brandon Sanderson I knew. How many do we have left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's only 2 left? Okay, what am I hoping to see? I'm hoping to see Kai and Babel. Or the N.K. Jemisin. Yes, I'm hoping for Kai, Babel, and the N.K. Jemisin. But there's only 2 left. The Golden Enclaves. The Golden Enclaves I wasn't expecting. Babel I was hoping and expecting. Interesting. My predictions were a little bit too good. I've read everything except for the Stephen King. Oops. Okay, interesting. This is the only thing in the top 10 that I haven't completed that I was planning on reading. Because I wasn't planning on reading 6 books to read the Brandon Sanderson or these fantasy romance situations that I'm not interested in. I'm not interested in reading a bunch of books in a series, especially if I'm not interested in the series. I was willing to read 2 books to read the N.K. Jemisin, but it didn't make it through. I really did not expect The War of Two Queens or The Golden Enclaves to make it through. I'm really bummed to not see Kai in there. I'm really bummed to not see the N.K. Jemisin in there. I'm gonna go finish this, and then we will come back and I will rank everything that I've read in the top 20, and then we'll vote. I'll see you when I finish the top 10, I guess. Actually, I owe you a halfway point of the Stephen King. Last time I talked to you, we hadn't even entered the fantasy world yet. We're now deep into the fantasy world. I would say that it's about at this point, this is where I am, where things have really picked up, which is, I guess, kind of surprising because I'm over halfway through the book. Most of this book has been just like building up this setup to how this boy got into this situation. I will say that if this dog right here, if she dies, I will bawl my eyes out. I am so freaking attached to this dog. Anyone who says the lengths that this boy is going to take care of this dog is extreme, obviously has never had a dog and watched them grow old before, because it's the most heart-wrenching thing ever. This German Shepherd is so old, and he's just like watching her get older and sicker, and it's really, really sad. And I have like welled up multiple times thinking about this dog. There are also giant cockroaches, and cockroaches are just not it for me. Cockroaches and rats, I cannot do anything else. You know, give me a million spiders. Like, I'm good with spiders. Cockroaches and rats, I cannot do, and there are giant cockroaches. Not my favorite thing. I do also want to talk about the way that disability and beauty is talked about in this book, because it's rubbing me the wrong way. A lot of times there are horrible things that have happened that Charlie is uncovering and looking at, and he's talking about how horrible it is this has happened, because beauty should never be killed. It feels a little bit like he's upset that someone has died because they were beautiful, or he's upset that someone has harmed someone because they're beautiful, and if they were ugly it wouldn't matter. He is a teenage boy and his thoughts are very teenage boy, and that's not my favorite headspace to be in, but I think it goes a little bit beyond that. It's feeling weird to me. So if that's something you're sensitive to, just a heads up. The conversations around disability in here are not great, and the way that many fairy tales do struggle to portray disability in an inclusive way. It's very, very common in fairy tales for someone to be cursed, and that gives them a disability, and then it's magically cured because of true love or something, and it's just a lot. So far, the like magical curing thing is a thought that Charlie has had. It's not something that has happened. There's a lot of talk about people being cursed, and a lot of talk about people being so beautiful if it wasn't for this disability, which is just, I don't love reading that. So if that's something that you're sensitive to, heads up, that's a big thing in this book. I did not know how large of a role the dog was going to play in this book. I had seen the dog on the cover. I had heard someone say that the dog was involved, but I did not know how central the dog would be to the plot of this story, and I'm here for it. I would have picked this up so much sooner if I had known it was really about a boy and a dog, because obviously I love dogs. I'm interested to see where this is gonna go, because I'm already over halfway through the book. I kind of feel like we've already encountered our major conflict that's gonna happen, but I have to remember, because the book is so big, I still have like 200 pages to go. You know, you could fit a whole book in 200 pages. It'll be interesting to see where it goes, and I will let you know when I have finished it, all my final thoughts and everything. I'm gonna go to work, then we'll finish the book, and then we'll catch up and vote and do all that good stuff. I just finished Fairy Tale. I think it's 4 stars. I had a really good time with it. Conversations about being cursed and disability and that whole situation did not get any better. So if you're sensitive to that, I would skip this one. It's a fairy tale. That's something that's really common in fairy tales. I just wish that Stephen King would have done something else with that. I feel like he could have done something else. So a little disappointed in that aspect of it, but otherwise, I really enjoyed this. It felt like a dark Chronicles of Narnia, if that makes sense, because we have this boy who's in this other world, and he's sort of throughout the book like changing. The world is changing him a little bit, and that was really, really cool to see. Reminded me a lot of Chronicles of Narnia, but it's really dark. Like, this is real dark and grim. Very interesting for my first Stephen King. I think I'll continue to pick up his work. It was very teenage boy in the way that I was expecting it to be. Like, there's some things that are just chucked in here that really did not need to be in there, that made me shake my head a little bit at Stephen King, which I expected to happen. I would read more of his work for sure. I love horror, have been scared of reading a book of his because a lot of them are this giant. so I'm glad that this video forced me to do that. This means that I have now read everything I'm going to read for this video. I'm actually really bummed that I'm not gonna get to read The World We Make because I really did want to read this, and I'm definitely wanting to get to this soon because I'm in the middle of another N.K. Jemisin trilogy and this book didn't make it into the top 10. I think I'm not going to read it for this video. I have read 11 books for this series, so I feel good about where we're at. Let's rank everything and then we'll pull out the ones that didn't make the top 10 and then we'll vote. My least favorite is gonna be the Atlas 6. If you are a subscriber of the channel, you know that I did not like this. I expected it to be here. I understand why it's popular. It reads very YA to me. It's not my thing. Next least favorite is gonna be Electra. Loved the premise, didn't love the execution. It just didn't work for me. I felt like the way that the perspectives and the time frame worked just didn't work for me. Then we have A River Enchanted. Again, premise was really great. I loved the cozy vibes of this, but the execution just wasn't my thing. A Similar Tale, Daughter of the Moon Goddess, I enjoyed, but there were some plot things that just felt very convenient. The character development felt really rushed. I did not feel like there were reasons for a character to be growing and doing. I just never was connected to any of the characters. Even though this is such a plot-forward, fast-paced book, I felt like I was just being like pulled along. I didn't feel like I was invested in anything that was happening. Then we have Fairy Tale. This is a 4-star, which means that 7 of the books I read for this video are 4 and 5 stars. Which is incredible. I'm really, really glad that I did this. I think I'm definitely going to continue reading from him, so hopefully there'll be a video soon where I'm exploring more of Stephen King's work, because I really would like to do that. Overall, even though there wasn't a lot going on in the first half of this book, I really did enjoy the pacing. I felt connected to all the characters. There were some moments that made me roll my eyes a little bit, but otherwise I did really enjoy this. Next is The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. I really liked this one. It is a nice, cozy time. If you're looking for a cozy, witchy read, I highly, highly recommend this. Everything else is 5 stars. 5 of the books I read for this series were 5 stars. That's a win for me. That's a win. Thistlefoot took me by surprise. I was so shocked that I loved this so much. This was so much darker than I thought it was gonna be, and just all the right ways. I loved what this book had to say about being haunted by the past and fear and memory. So good. Then we have Nettle and Bone from one of my favorite authors, T. Kingfisher. I love this story. I read this before this video series. I love an animal companion. This one has that for sure. T. Kingfisher's writing is just so up my alley, and I just love everything that she writes. Okay, the top 3, here we go. Second runner-up is Legends and Lattes. This is something I will continue to reread probably every year, maybe multiple times a year. I just love the place in my brain that this took me to. It's so cozy. I love the relationships in here. It's just a warm hug in a book. If you want to read something about coffee and pastries and found family, this is the one. This is the one. My second favorite, Kaike. I love this book so much. Again, took me by surprise. I knew this was gonna be good, but I didn't expect it to become a new favorite, and it definitely has. I want everyone to read this book. I'm gonna be gifting this to someone for Christmas. I just want everyone to read this. It is like the perfect book. It has action, it has battles, it has gods, it has quests, it has motherhood and deep personal connections and talking about influencing people and magic, and it's just the perfect book. Loved this. And the book I will be voting for, we all saw it coming, Babel. I just think this book is so important. I think this is one of the best things that was written this year. I really hope this wins. This is what I will be voting for. I would love to see this beat out the Sarah J. Maas and the Stephen King and the Brandon Sanderson. If that happens, my faith in Goodreads will be a little bit restored. I really hope this wins. It's got a large, very passionate readership. I think most people who read this, it's one of their favorite books of the year. If you disagree with me, I would love to chat about this in the comments, but I just think this is so important. If you want to hear my more in-depth thoughts about this, I will link the Dark Academia video. I read a bunch of Dark Academia. Obviously, this is one of my favorite things that I read for that video. I'll continue to pick up anything that R.F. Kuang writes. Okay, so of the top 10 that I read, in order of least favorite to most favorite, we have Atlas 6, Daughter of the Moon Goddess, Fairy Tale, The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, Legends and Lattes, and Babel at the top. So, without further ado, let's vote. Okay, voting in fantasy. I will be voting for Babel. Amazing. We voted. Okay, I want to take a look at the rest of the categories and let's just see if I've read anything that made it into the top 10 for any of the other categories. Okay, in the science fiction category, I am going to be voting for How High We Go in the Dark. I love that book so much. It lives on my favorite shelf. Okay, in the horror category, do I vote for The Hacienda or do I vote for The Tea Kingfisher? I think I have to vote for The Hacienda because that book really took me by surprise and is one of my favorite haunted house stories. We're voting for The Hacienda. Okay, in memoir and autobiography, I am going to be voting for I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. That is a fantastic book. And then I think the only other one that I may have read something from is Debut, so let's take a look. Okay, this is really exciting. Kai Kei made it into the top 10 for Debut, so we get to vote for Kai Kei in something else. Okay, fantastic. I'm really happy about that. I voted for Kai Kei in Debut novel. I really hope it wins that. Oh, I'm so happy to see it make the top 10 in one of these categories. This was such a cool experience. I think I will continue to read one of the categories of the Goodreads choice in future years. I think this is a really good way to explore a new genre, to read some things that I wouldn't have otherwise read that are really popular. My prediction for who's gonna win, I think it's gonna be either the Sarah J. Maas or Babel or the Brandon Sanderson or the Stephen King. I really hope that Babel wins and that's what I'm gonna say is gonna win, so I put it in the universe and the universe makes it happen, hopefully. That concludes this video. I will see you on Thursday for our 3rd December video, which is very exciting. There will be hopefully 14 videos in December. I'm very, very excited about it. I have some really cool content planned. If IKEA hasn't lied to me, the bookcases I've been waiting over 6 months for should be back in stock this week, and I will be redoing my office, turning it into a library, which I am very, very excited about, and we'll decorate it all for Christmas. If you want to stick around, hang out with me and my chaotic animals, I would love to have you here. Please subscribe if you're interested. Otherwise, I'll see you on Thursday. Happy reading. Bye.